Welcome back to the deep dive. If you feel like your brain is constantly buffering, you're not alone.
Yeah. It definitely feels that way sometimes.
We are living in just this wild, overwhelming information slurry. It's got hyper advanced science, geopolitical chaos, and, the most mundane details of your shopping list all mixed
About
together.
one unstable feed, yeah.
Exactly.
And today, we're trying to cut through some of that noise. We've synthesized a massive, really rapid-fire discussion.
Okay.
It covers three primary interlocking themes: the current mind-bending state of technology, where that's going,
Right.
the erosion of truth and privacy that seems to be, well, accompanying it,
Seems linked.
and the deep ethical costs wrapped up in our global supply chains and, these ongoing ideological conflicts.
Okay, so our mission today is pretty simple. We want to provide you with the shortcut.
Yeah, distill it down.
We're extracting the core insights and those surprising connections from all this broad material so you can walk away genuinely well-informed about this complex intersection of technology and trust.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's jump right into the deep end.
All right, so first up, the new frontiers of computing. And there's one specific alleged capability out of China that is genuinely hard to wrap your head around.
Absolutely. They reportedly have a new quantum computer. It solved some complex equation in just 4 minutes.
4 minutes, yeah. And when you try to scale that against, like, current technology, the claim is the world's existing supercomputers would take 2.6 billion years to finish the same job.
Billion. With a B. That's not even a comparable number.
It's staggering.
Yeah.
I mean, it exceeds the expected lifespan of our solar system,
That's
right? And what's fascinating, or maybe slightly terrifying, is a speculative theory this speed has sparked among some researchers cited in our material.
Okay.
The idea is that the only way to account for this revolutionary speed is if the quantum computer is actually computing along with other quantum computers in other dimensions.
Wait, hold on. Other dimensions. Are the sources suggesting that theoretical physics, like multiverse theory, is now part of computer science research?
It sounds like high-concept sci-fi, doesn't it?
It really does.
But it just illustrates how far beyond our current understanding this tech might be.
Okay, that's mind-bending.
It is. And here's where the bottleneck hits hard. Our sources estimate there are only about 30 to maybe 100 quantum computer scientists globally who could successfully recreate one of these machines, even given the resources.
100 people, max, for potentially the biggest breakthrough in history.
That's the estimate, yeah.
Yeah.
An astonishingly small expertise pool.
And that kind of hypercomputing power, it connects directly to a very immediate, very earthly problem, right? Infrastructure instability.
Exactly. AI's current and definitely anticipated demands for power are so extreme they threaten to literally crush the electrical grid. That's the word used.
Crush the grid. And you see the absurdity playing out already, right? Especially in places pushing green energy mandates the fastest.
Oh, yeah. Think about that anecdote we found, the very California thing.
Right. They pass a law, all new cars have to be electric by 2035.
A big, ambitious goal.
And then, weeks later, the state is forced to plead with people, basically saying, please don't charge your electric cars right now because the grid absolutely cannot handle it.
The timing is just incredible. And remember, California historically used to have rolling brownouts just from air conditioning demand in the summer.
Just AC. Now imagine adding a fully electric vehicle fleet plus these massive data centers running AI calculations 2004/7.
It's a systemic collision course. Seems unavoidable at this rate.
And that collision course, it moves from infrastructure, the physical stuff, to manufactured reality, the content side.
Yeah, the power of AI is generating content that is really eroding our sense of what is real. Deepfakes are improving frighteningly fast.
How fast are we talking?
Well, they're already fooling people, maybe 1 out of every 100 times they see one, according to the sources. And you see this playing out with, like, those popular fake girls on Instagram with millions of followers.
Yeah.
People think they're real.
Millions. Wow. And the technical ability to just manipulate images, video, the ethical implications are immediate and messy.
Totally messy. The potential for, say, customized erotica apps is right there, creating huge legal problems around using someone's likeness without consent.
Right. The example cited in the source was generating a photo of a specific, recognizable public figure, but with highly customized features.
Yeah, exactly. It shows just how personalized and potentially volatile this AI-generated content can get very quickly.
Okay, so this manufactured content, this blurring of reality, It brings us pretty naturally to the history of mobile tech, right? And the evolving cost of convenience, how data became the ultimate commodity.
It's a great arc to look at, yeah, because you can see how we were slowly conditioned to accept this permanent digital tether.
Yeah, think back to the Apple Newton, remember that?
Vaguely, big thing.
Huge, described as ahead of its time, but back then, people thought it was useless. As big as a loaf of bread, they said, compared to just a simple pocket address book. Nobody felt they needed it.
Right. It didn't solve an immediate problem for most people.
But then the BlackBerry came along, and it introduced this totally new thing of answering emails on the fly.
Ah, yeah. That was the game changer.
That was the turning point. People slowly realized they were carrying their work demands, their emails with them constantly.
But what they didn't realize, maybe, was that the privacy barrier wasn't just crumbling. It was basically gone. We were kind of doomed the moment we accepted being perpetually available.
Doomed is a strong word, but yeah, you lost that separation. And data, which seemed like just a byproduct of sending emails or browsing.
Suddenly became this unexpected, super valuable commodity. Nobody thought signing up for like a newsletter meant their email address, their interests, their browsing history would get bundled up and sold.
Treating this whole data-driven scammer loop.
Exactly. That loop means your data gets sold via these, frankly, sleazy sign-up lists, leading directly to spam, those Nigerian lottery scams we all used to get,
Oh, yeah.
and that specific daily annoyance of getting texts for Raymond, the guy who had your phone number 10 years ago.
Yeah. Ugh, I still get those. For someone named Brenda.
See? Because Raymond's or Brenda's data is still circulating out there, tied to your number now.
It's wild. And what's sobering is how that sort of passive acceptance led to this extreme level of pervasive tracking we have now.
Right. One detail cited in a recent court case really drove this home for me.
What was that?
Prosecutors apparently used data showing a woman browse an Instagram photo for exactly 2.3 seconds at 8 a.m.
2.3 seconds.
Yeah. To establish her precise location and refute her alibi. They are measuring human interaction with digital content in sub 5-second increments.
That level of granularity is unsettling.
It really is. And it leads to this idea of the ultimate control mechanism. As we move further into tech, like the shift to electric vehicles.
Yeah.
You're not just driving a car anymore.
You're driving a computer.
You're driving a computer, and that computer tracks everything you do, everywhere you go.
Okay.
It cements this potential for total control over movement behavior.
Okay. So we've seen the invisible cost, right? The digital cost of convenience in our data, our privacy. Now, let's talk about the visible, the physical cost of this technology. The literal price paid in the supply chain for the most advanced gadgets in the world.
Yeah, and this creates a really profound, disturbing moral dilemma. Our sources highlighted that the most advanced thing many of us carry, our cell phone,
Right. This thing right here.
is made possible in part by processes described as the most barbaric way possible, specifically cobalt mining in the Congo.
Barbaric is a strong word, but the descriptions, they're stark.
They are. We're talking about human beings, often working with babies strapped to their backs, hammering out these conflict minerals, as they're called.
While living on dirt floors, it's deeply jarring when you think about it. The source of the materials powering us scrolling through TikTok or checking email.
Comes from this level of like pre-industrial, morally compromised labor. It's a huge disconnect.
Definitely. And this physical tech race, globally, China seems to be leading, leveraging its head start pretty aggressively in key sectors.
Absolutely. Like drones, for example. They're way ahead. DJI makes the best drones, hands down.
The ones that do those massive light shows.
Yeah, capable of organizing these huge synchronized shows. Up to 10,000 drones creating animated figures in the sky. It's incredible tech.
And the material we looked at suggested that U.S. bans on companies like DJI, they've allegedly set American drone technology back maybe 10 years.
That was the claim, yeah. Severely limiting domestic defense and consumer innovation because we cut off access to the leading edge.
You see this dynamic even in consumer specs, like phone batteries.
Right. Comparing phones, Chinese models might boast significantly larger batteries. The example was, say, 7,200 millicarry compared to an iPhone's 5,200 millicarry.
And just quickly, milliampere hour. That's basically the battery's capacity, right? How much juice it holds.
Exactly. More theoretically longer life. But what's interesting...
Is that it doesn't always work out that way.
Right. Apple's optimization, how the software and hardware work together, is apparently so good that the huge Chinese battery might only yield about 35 more minutes of actual use time.
Only 35 minutes more from a much bigger battery.
Yeah. It's a perfect example of two competing tech approaches.
Yeah.
Just raw capacity versus, like, tightly integrated optimization.
Fascinating. And this technological competition, it inevitably bleeds into political conflict, which raises some critical questions about vested interests.
Definitely. Our research cited disclosure forms showing that politician J.D. Vance, he publicly advocates for pretty aggressive anti-China policies,
Right.
but he maintained significant ties through his former venture capitalist career.
Ties to what specifically?
Investments in specific U.S. defense technology companies, like Anduril, founded by Palmer Luckman.
Anduril. They do drones, AI platforms, that sort of thing. Defense tech.
Exactly. Autonomous systems,
Right.
which, directly benefit from anti-China policies that restrict foreign tech adoption in defense and related sectors.
So the suggestion is the policy goal might not just be about national security.
Well, it raises the question. Is it also about ensuring market share transfers directly to domestic companies where politicians might have or have had investments?
It implies geopolitical conflict could be leveraged, maybe intentionally, for private profit.
It's a conflict of interest question that the source material brought up quite directly.
Okay. And that idea, leveraging conflict,
Yeah.
it brings us straight to the core trust crisis, the one infecting the whole information landscape.
Yeah. The sources detailed some specific, pretty shocking examples of how narratives are allegedly being deliberately manipulated, even by major institutions.
Like the BBC incident.
Yeah, one specific finding detailed the BBC being forced to accept the resignation of a senior figure after allegedly editing a Trump speech from January 6th.
How was it edited?
The claim is they took the "fight like hell" quote, which apparently occurred 52 minutes later in the actual speech,
Okay.
and spliced it right after an entirely different statement he made much earlier.
So changing the sequence, not just taking it out of context, but reordering it.
Exactly. The significance, according to the source, wasn't just quoting selectively, but resequencing the chronology to fabricate an inciting moment that didn't actually happen in that order.
Wow. That's, yeah. That speaks to a broader phenomenon mentioned, right? That sometimes the truth gets in the way of a desired political narrative.
That's the argument. The paradox noted was that respected outlets, including the BBC and PBS mentioned specifically, have been infected by zombies, which is used as shorthand for ideological capture.
Okay. Zombies meaning ideologically driven.
Yeah, leading to what the material called a save you by destroying civilization mentality, where the narrative goal outweighs factual accuracy. It's a provocative claim.
Very. And Representative Luna, who was cited as a political source, offered a simpler explanation for why conflict persists.
What was that?
That sometimes politicians don't want to fix problems because they can campaign against them and fundraise on the chaos.
Keep the problem alive to keep the base energized and the donations flowing. Makes a cynical kind of sense.
It does. And if we connect this idea of informational manipulation, narrative control, we see some disturbing historical parallels being drawn, specifically around the AIDS crisis and the role of Anthony Fauci.
Right, this was a significant part of the material. The sources referenced the controversy around Peter Duesberg.
He was a tenured professor at Berkeley.
Yeah, highly credentialed scientist. But he was largely dismissed for his contention that AIDS wasn't solely caused by HIV. He argued it was primarily related to immune system destruction from hardcore drug use.
Pointing out that, 90% of those initially diagnosed with AIDS were heavy drug users.
That was his claim, yes.
Yeah.
That lifestyle factors were maybe the primary driver, not just the virus. A very controversial stance, obviously.
Hugely. And the material then brings up the scandal around AZT, the main drug pushed back then.
Yes, AZT, pushed heavily by the AIDS establishment, as the source puts it. The claim, reported by Spin magazine way back then,
Okay.
was that AZT was actually an abandoned, highly toxic cancer drug.
Abandoned? Why resurrected?
Because, the allegation goes, the thinking was AIDS patients were going to die anyway. So the bar for safety could be lowered.
That's grim.
And the drug was described as sometimes killing patients faster than the disease itself.
But it was profitable.
Insanely profitable, according to the source. Because promoting it to a population seen as terminally ill allowed the pharma companies to circumvent the usual expensive, lengthy clinical trials.
Cutting corners because the patients were seen as expendable.
That's the heavy implication made in the source material, yes. And here is the truly shocking historical parallel that was drawn.
Okay.
The antagonist character in the movie Dallas Buyers Club, the doctor figure who relentlessly pushes AZT.
Yeah. Who did that character represent?
According to the sources we reviewed, that character represents Anthony Fauci.
Seriously, Fauci.
That's the assertion. And the sources specifically note that Fauci used the exact terminology, safe and effective, to promote AZT back then.
Safe and
The
effective.
very same phrase he used decades later for the COVID vaccines. The claim is it's disturbingly the same playbook run twice.
Wow, okay. That's a heavy historical parallel to draw. Reporting that as presented in the source, of course.
Of course, just laying out what the material covered.
So what does this all mean when we synthesize it for you, the listener? We seem to have these two massive forces colliding.
Yeah, on one hand, rapid, ethically challenging technological advancement, quantum leaps, AI generating reality, drone warfare, stuff moving incredibly fast.
And on the other hand, an increasingly chaotic, deeply manipulated informational and political world where trust is eroding fast.
Space is accelerated, the chaos feels pervasive, and the truth seems very malleable.
Which brings us back, full circle almost, to the ultimate final provocative thought posed in the source material, simulation theory.
Ah, yes. The are we living in a simulation idea.
Exactly. And the argument presented is weirdly compelling in this context. If you were creating a simulation designed specifically to keep the players less distracted, constantly guessing, highly anxious,
How would you design it?
you'd make it completely bananas, right? Utterly chaotic.
So the chaos itself. A communist running New York City, rich kids enthusiastically supporting socialism, constant global conflicts popping up, technology moving too fast for anyone to really track.
Maybe it's intentional. The suggestion in the material is that this engineered chaos might be prepping us, softening us up for the ultimate event,
Which involves.
total AI control. Through mechanisms like mandatory digital IDs, carbon allotments linked to your behavior, things that require a crisis to implement.
So the madness is the point, possibly, to make us accept control later.
That's the final unsettling question raised. This deep dive, it's shown you the landscape, this bizarre mixture of scientific genius running alongside calculated manipulation.
So we leave you with this final thought to mull over. Consider which elements of the modern madness you experience day to day feel organic.
And which might be intentionally engineered, designed to push us all toward a new, much more controlled reality. Something to think about.
Definitely food for thought.
Until next time.